Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Philanthropy. On today's episode, we have a brilliant financial planner. I have known this lovely lady for 3 years now, and it comes so naturally to her that she is always giving me financial advice. And so I said, you know what, maybe you should come onto my podcast because financial health is a really important part of, maintaining our health in general. It impacts every facet of our life. And so it is with great pleasure that I am bringing in Ms. Evelyn Lapina. She is the senior math teacher at Sagaskuch High School, which used to be the high school that I was principal of. And so that's how I know her. And so she is very busy with that. And I think she will be eventually doing some financial consulting. And so I'm very excited to have her on today. Welcome, Ms. Lapina.
Hello, Miss Iron, and hello everyone out there who's listening right now.
So, when we were talking about some of these things, they come very naturally to her, as I mentioned, talking about saving, talking about how do we get rid of our debt, what are things we can do if we want to invest. And so Ms. Lopina was always giving me sage advice, and I really appreciated it. And I thought, why do we have to stop at just me with the advice? I really think that a lot of people could benefit from this information, and it's something that she has done very naturally and beautifully in her own life. I think as a math teacher, that's even more powerful because you're living by the standards that you're teaching the students and the things that you want them to embody, because she taught financial literacy. These are things that she lives by really quite naturally. And so that's something that, I think probably for a great majority of people, Ms. Lapina, we struggle with debt. What is something that we could do to improve our situation if we have a big debt load right now?
Okay, so I actually have that. Okay, so what if a person or an individual have a lot of debt? So how can that was one of your question? How can
Yes.
a person or an individual manage that? So that's a very common and completely understandable challenge when you have a lot of debt or anybody. The most important things to do is to create a plan that you can stick to. That means creating a budget. Creating a budget helps a person manage their money. And there is a popular rule that we can use, which is the 50-30-20 rule. And that what that means is that the 50% goes towards your needs,
Okay.
and that's including the rent or mortgage or utilities, transportation, and that 30% goes towards your wants, and 20% goes towards your savings goal. Now anybody can actually alter that. It's not set in stone. It depends on the person's financial status or circumstances. But if we are talking about a struggling parent or a lot of debt, we can actually set aside that 20% instead of savings towards your debt savings goal to pay off those debts. And the way to do that is you have to list an individual who has a lot of debts. It's very important that you list and organize your debts. And so from credit cards to their current balance to the interest rates to the monthly and minimum monthly payment, and also credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever that debt would be. Number two, a strategy there is to choose your attack strategy. So there are two common, most common, which actually Dave Ramsey is an American. He talk about helping people how to tackle their debt, right? And so one is going to be that debt avalanche. That means you're tackling first which your debt which has the highest interest rate. And then the second one is that snowball. So that means that the smallest balance first. So the pros for these two strategy is that The debt avalanche, you're tackling the highest interest rate. It saves the most money and time over time because as you eliminate the most expensive debt first. But with a debt snowball, builds powerful momentum, motivation because you see when you, let's say for example, your credit card, let's say like the lowest interest, and you only owe 20 or $200, and it is the other debts would be like let's say 10,000 or 1,000, and the smallest debt that you have, when you actually pay that off, it's like it gives you a motivation. It's like you celebrate your wins. Yes, I'm done with it, and then you tackle the next one. That is a debt snowball.
That's a really great idea. What about, I've heard this term before, I've never actually tried it or practiced it, but consolidation. When you
Yes.
consolidate debt, can you explain that to the listeners?
Yes, consolidation of that is when you see you okay. So if a person or individual have a lot of debt, and so you can go to the bank or any financial institutions where you bank to, or even online. There is actually online now, which is better than traditional banks that we go to. So taking all your debts and that consolidating it into one, and that so that depends on the interest as well, and that is better for, I think, most of people who have a lot of debts, to consolidate into one, so they don't have to think of this and this and that, how many debts they have. So the workload of the debt is only once, and you pay it, and make sure that you have a strategy how to pay it off.
Okay, well, thank you. Now, if we're looking at the 20%, when I'm going back to your original calculation, the 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% debt or savings.
Yes.
If I want to save, but I have a lot of debt, should I be dividing that 20% into savings and debt, or should I attack all of the debt first and then work on my savings? What do you think makes more sense?
So when it is what made, like for me, like if I am that individual who has a lot of debt, I would want to tackle my debt first. If I have a lot of debt, so we're talking about a lot of debt, but if it is only like a small ones, yes, of course you can save and invest, right? But if you have a lot of debt, it's make more sense that you tackle that first, because you see it's hard to invest, it's hard to save when you have, we say that, and even if you research it, financial stress is the number one stress that people has, more than family, more than whatever. It is the
Yep.
financial number
Like
one.
marriage too. I've
Yes.
heard that is the leading
Yes.
reason people divorce is finances, even above infidelity. Do you
Yes.
believe that?
Yes, 80% actually, if you research it, 80% of any relationships, marriage or boyfriends and girlfriends,
Yep.
that actually divorces or separates because of money. Because you see, some would say, yeah, yeah, they love, even they can live on a whatever just because they love that person.
Yeah.
But you cannot just say, I love you, and there's no food on the table. Do you still say, I love you? That pot will be thrown out the window, right? So it's not just about love. You gotta use your brain too. Money gives choices.
Yeah, that's right. And I feel that, when you mentioned that example of, let's say, you were living on love, but it wasn't putting food on the table. I think that sometimes, they're not on the same page financially. I think that goes to the emotional safety of a relationship, that you don't feel emotionally safe
Yes.
because somebody is maybe, from inside your relationship, attacking it or undermining it if they're making poor financial choices. So if we had a partner, and let's say that's us, let's say that's a listener right now, and they're trying really hard to pay off their debt, they're trying really hard to get some savings and get forward and change their pattern. But let's say their partner has a gambling addiction, or they, somehow are doing things that put the family financially at risk. What are some choices that a person could do in that situation? What do you think?
I really think that you have to, like set boundaries in the marriage or any relationship. You have to talk about money. I know that so many are not comfortable talking about money because you see, if I talk about it, and I'm willing to help others, and they would say they're not comfortable because they don't have money anyway to save, right? But
Yep.
it's very important. The first thing in a relationship, whatever you're in, marriage or even before you get married, talk about money. You're gonna know, you want to know what their financial status are, because you need to set boundaries in that relationship. You can't just let that person walk all over you. You came into this picture, and that you are, let's say, well established with your financial. You don't want just let anybody in and just doing whatever they can with their money just because they thought they can.
I think that's really powerful. And so then, having those difficult discussions early in a relationship and trying to understand maybe what somebody's approach is to finances. And the great thing about what we just talked about, having those difficult conversations, is that is something that we are working towards on Philanthropy podcast. We are working towards the conflict series where people can learn how to have a difficult conversation, and you can do it with love and grace and compassion. But that being said, I 100% agree with you that you need to be having some tough conversations with people to at least understand, even before you get into the puppy dog love stages, and now you're emotionally attached to somebody who could be financially disastrous for your relationship, right? So I do think that's a very wise idea. And when you talk about boundaries, especially because, I actually recently was watching, I think, a podcast somewhere or listening to a podcast, and they talked about, the financial wealth of women and how women are becoming a lot more financially secure, and they're in, leadership positions, and now they are able to own property and all of these things. And of course that can be, somewhat intimidating for men if they're not, used to somebody, especially a female, being more successful with them financially. What are some boundaries that you mentioned that a woman could do to maybe safeguard herself or make sure that she doesn't find someone who's a financial leech and who drains her? What are some things that she could do?
Well, like we talk about that talking, like it's a difficult discussion for both. And so if a woman has I like me, even me, it's hard for me to talk about that to a partner, right? Because you could eventually like hurt their feelings if they take it the wrong way. So let's say a woman, like let's say you have pretty much well established with your finances. You have a place, you have investments, you're ready to retire early, and you just have all these things. So to protect yourself, because it's really important, to protect yourself is to get a prenup. I know it's hard to talk
Yeah,
about that because like if they take it the wrong way, prenup would mean not trusting that person.
right.
But if you actually explain it in a way that it's protecting both sides, because you see nowadays, you see so many, and new research, over 50 and even 60 are getting divorced. You see, when you get divorced, you get like you give half of what you have. You know, so it's very important to, especially if you are like 50, over 50 and 6, think it many times. Do you really want to get into a relationship
Yep.
that could lead to a disaster, someday? Or we never know. We don't know that person in front of us. Of course they will tell, and they will say, and they will do whatever you want to hear, what you see. But is that really that person you would like to be in the future, to be with? Are they the same person what you're showing, they're showing them to you now? So if they,
Absolutely.
yeah, prenup is I know that is a very hard discussion to have that because you both need lawyers for that,
Yeah.
for a prenup to
But you need
sign.
lawyers for divorce too, right? And
Yes,
so
yes. So
I think
it's yes,
if you have that mindset that you know what, the reality is this relationship could break down before death,
yes,
that you know we need to understand how will we both feel safe if that should happen, right?
yes,
Because
yes,
it
yes.
is a reality that we could end up divorcing with such high divorce rates now. And so that's a good tip and a good boundary.
There is no guarantee. Like there is no guarantee for like many things right now. So it's just important to plan ahead.
That's right. That's right. And this is another question that just occurred to me as we're sitting here. But I've found that there's a lot of, if we look at these online scams, there's a lot of online scams and they particularly target older women.
Yes.
Okay, and so older women, exactly what you're saying, you know, maybe they're lonely, maybe they're widowed, maybe they're retired, and now there's somebody who's love bombing them on Facebook or some social media site and is promising them the world. And these women, maybe out of their loneliness, fall for it and they think, oh, here is somebody who listens to me and he wants this relationship, he wants to meet me. And maybe even before they've met, now this person has laid out some sob story. They are in some kind of financial ruin and they need just a little bit of money to help them, or they need money for that plane ticket to get to you. And you know, and I've heard that this happens, you know, a little bit too often, and women are being duped and now they're wiring money to some man they've never met. What are your thoughts on that?
These are very common right now. Like there is even a show about catfish. Have you heard of catfish? It is in YouTube. You can even just YouTube it. So
Catfish. Okay,
yes,
that's a good one.
so
Yep.
if you watch that those episodes, these are all about scamming for love. And so they target, what they do is these scammers from India or Nigeria, the biggest scammers in the world, they targeted older people. It's not even women, some are men too. And why they do that? Because older people, men or women, they are the most vulnerable people in the world.
Really?
They are lonely. They think that their life is over, and especially if their husbands or wives, their partners passed on, and they're alone and their kids are gone, and so they really are lonely. And so if somebody would love bombing them, they believe that and they're thinking it's true, and it makes them feel like they're teenagers again, right? So but that is a scam. I'm just hoping that they are smart about it.
How could they be smart about it? What are things they could do to
So let's
protect themselves?
oh, sorry. So let's say for example that so mostly it happens on Facebook, friend request. So they should research that person. You can do a reverse of that photo. Actually, reverse search that photo.
How do you
And
reverse search?
you can actually Google it.
Okay.
Anyone can, and
Okay.
then you upload that photo, and that will actually bring you to who is the owner of that picture, who is that real person. And so then once also this whoever man or women that's scamming these older people, when the moment they ask for money, that is a scam. They should think that way. At the moment, they should not be sending any money. Like, can you imagine? If you watch a catfish, there is this woman, the husband died, and then she was well off already, has investments, have money, have a house. What she did was she sent all that money, the retirement, and then she even sold the house for $1 million house,
Oh my
and she's
gosh.
left with nothing. There's so many scenarios. Watch that catfish. You will be surprised of what actually the scammers do.
Wow. And you know
It's so
what?
sad.
I think, you know, unfortunately, I do know people personally who have
Yes.
been impacted by this. And of course, I would never name them, but I do know people who have been impacted. And I think of my own situation. I've been with my boyfriend for almost maybe 2 months, and we see each
Congratulations.
other. Thank you. And we see each other in person all the time. You know, we spend a lot of quality time together.
Yes.
And in all this time, he's never once asked me for $1, right? Like, I mean, we sometimes have contributed to things together, but he has never been like, hey, can you spot me $500 or $1,000 or anything? Like, nothing. And we've been in this committed relationship in person for that long. And I just think if you haven't even met a person and they're asking for any amount of money, that is a huge red flag.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
need to understand that everybody in the world needs money. I really believe everybody, like, okay, maybe there's a few billionaires out there who don't need any money, but most of the world would benefit from a little bit more money. Or maybe, you know, we just need to be smarter with our money. Like you're
Yes.
mentioning that maybe sometimes we can live within our means if we have the right financial strategy. But I think it's a huge red flag, even if they're asking for $20. Like that's a huge red flag, letting you know that this is maybe somebody who could set you up for financial ruin down the road, if not right away, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now I have another question for you. Let's say we have the debt underway, and you know we have some savings, and I know that you can probably mention the calculation of what is a good amount for savings. You can definitely, you know, shed some light on that. But also, you know, if I wanted to approach investing, how would I go about investing?
Okay, so how do you do investing? So we have to just make sure that step one is that we get our financial house in order. That means that we pay down our debt. If we have this high interest debt, establish an emergency fund. So it's very important for a person to have the 3 to 6 months emergency fund, just
Okay.
in case whatever happens in life, right?
3 to 6. And so what is calculated in 3 to 6 months? Is that
It
to
is
cover all of the bills? What is that?
it to covers your monthly living expenses.
Okay.
And so also create a budget. It's very important that you have, or any individual, every person, I would really recommend everyone to create a budget.
Mm-hmm.
And then that is before investing. And number two is define your goals and timeline. So I actually have it down. So your short term could be an example of a down payment of a house, 1 to 5 years. Let's say, for example, okay, so your plan on buying a house, or maybe buying a car, and you want to have a big down payment. So that could be short term. And the long term, an example could be your retirement, right? And so then if you are on short term, working on your short term, that could be a more conservative investments, and the long term could be an aggressive, because you have more time to recover when the market are down. Now, step three is to choose the right investment account. Now, the type of account you open depends on your goals, and if you want tax advantages. So like for me, I pay taxes. So I pay a lot of tax. I'm on a high bracket, and so I wanna optimize, my tax advantage accounts. And so, and what are those? So, when we work at Onion Lake Education, at the school, where we have the RPP, right? RPP is a registered pension plan, and that is an employer match. So if we put 3% or 5%, they match that. That is a no-brainer for everyone and that goes to your investment for your retirement. And so that is a no-brainer. I would really encourage everyone to maximize that 5% at work. So other company, maybe they offer other percentages like 6%, but ours, we have 5. So maximize that. And also you can also open a RSP, registered retirement savings plan. It is an individual plan that you can offer to a brokerage account. Like I do online. I do a DIY, so a self-directed through online brokerage account, and also a tax-free savings account is a really powerful Canadian registered account, and that I also do that. And then there is also what we call a taxable brokerage account, that when you invest, and then when you sell that investment and you withdraw that, that is where is what we call realized, and so you pay taxes on that. So that, but I would encourage that for everyone to, if they're paying taxes, is to maximize that the tax advantage accounts.
Okay, that sounds really good. And that's definitely great advice for people who are being taxed. Let's say it's Indigenous people that you're working with in Onion Lake and they're not being taxed because they work on reserve. What is something that they could do? Because I believe the taxing is about 30%. Is that correct? Of your
I'm more
income?
I'm more than that.
Okay.
So like 35 to 39%. So that's a lot for me.
It is a lot of money.
Yes,
And so then for an Indigenous person that normally that amount would be taxed, what could they be doing with that money instead of it going to the government? What would be a smart strategy to use with that 30 to 39% that they could be getting taxed?
so it's important to educate everyone, especially for the First Nation people. Like, you guys are ahead already, because if you don't pay tax, that amount can really help you save for your retirement. And by doing so is invest that money, right? So, and then all you have to do is just open a TFSA. TFSA is a great Canadian tool for investment and for retirement. And so you can go either to the bank, or you can open your own at any brokerage account online. And I do have mine at my bank, but I manage it. I actually with no I actually withdraw the TFSA that I have, because this was not earning money, right?
What's
Because
a
when you,
TFSA,
that's a
tax-free
tax-free
savings account?
savings account, yeah, anyone can actually, well, for as long as you're 18 years old and you have a SIN number. So
Okay.
what I did was, because I was looking at it, I was paying attention with my money, because I want to retire early, right? The money should be working for you passively, even when you're asleep. So that's why we invest. And so then it was not earning, and so it was only cents, so I had to, and I said, because when you go to the bank, and then you say, okay, I want to invest into TFSA, they will say, let's put you on a mutual funds, right? They will invest their money in mutual funds. And the reason they say that, because mutual funds, that they earn 1 to 2%, those advisor, and that, they just put on, yeah, like for me, it wasn't working for me, because I researched all these companies where they invested my money to, and it's not working for me, because it was not even really earning. It was a sense, oh my god. And so I said, no, I actually understand investing, and I would do a self-direct. And so they would say, oh, it is a lot of work, and it's stressful. You know what, I did it anyway, and it's, oh my god, it's not stressful at all. You just have to, like, once you understand it, you buy and sell a TFSA. You watch out for that. You don't just buy and sell and trade every day. You buy and just set it and forget it. You can also set your dividends into DRIP. Well, that depends. The investing is depends on how old you are too. Like, let's say I'm almost 50. And let's say I want to retire at the age of 52 or 50, because they said 50 years old is very early. So 52 to 55. Now I will focus on dividend, on investing on dividends, because what dividends means is that when you retire, you are withdrawing those dividends without touching your share of your investments.
Okay.
So it depends on how old you are. But if you're young, like let's say 25 years old, 30 years old, you have more time in the market. And so I would not recommend a dividend. You can do a dividend little portion, but the highest portion should be an aggressive one, which is the
Right.
growth and
So
value.
then is that like dividends, like what you're mentioning, is that what people refer to when they say I would invest and then live off the interest? Is that what
Yes,
that is?
yes, that's it.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, and it keeps growing. So while you're still working and not retired yet, you set that into drip. So that is a dividend reinvestment plan. You can actually set automate it. You can, there's an instruction to do it. I just did that. So whatever I receive, like let's say I have one ETFs that I can receive $67 a month, and one is $45 a month. And so that I set that into drip. It's automatic, it's automated. And that's the easiest way also to save and invest, is to automate your savings or investment.
Awesome. Now, and I know you have been aware of this phenomenon because you live in Onion Lake and so you work with a lot of Indigenous people. But recently, a lot of people have come into these large sums of money via cows and plows, or if it is day school settlement, residential school claim. Sometimes people are getting 25,000 up to 200,000, and these are people who maybe have not had a lot of financial coaching. What are some things people could do, let's say if they haven't yet received a sum of money, like all of Onion Lake still has not received any cows and plows, but that could be coming. And so if they tuned into this episode and they listened, what could be something that they could do with a large amount of money like that? Because I think of Lord of the Rings, and people get a little bit crazy when there's a little bit of power or money, and they get a little bit, and I don't want to say greedy, but foolish. We can be really foolish with money. So what would be a really smart way to handle a large amount of money?
So first thing is like to educate everyone. It's very important that because information is power. We have to be knowledgeable on, everyone deserves financial literacy. If people understands financial literacy is important, then they would not just go gambling their money. And also it's good for all the schools to offer financial literacy, like Onion Lake Education. I'm very happy to be teaching that class. And I'm actually hoping that all grade 12s will take financial literacy. And so then this is an example. We had a parent teacher interviews, right? Celebration of learning. And then this parent asked me about, and when he saw, because I always like display my that course outlines and what are that students learning, so that it is transparent for everyone, whoever comes in, or to the parents, and
Yep.
then to the admins. And so then they saw, oh, you're a teacher of teach financial literacy. And he said that our people maybe receiving money soon. So,
Right?
and then he asked me if I could share that. And because I said, I think that it's important to educate the
Right.
people.
Yep.
And by doing that, you can even host a, what you call that, when they have that one time there at the arena.
Like a workshop?
Yes, a workshops about financial literacy. And that, because I feel really, I feel sad about those who received. Do you know, I was chasing those kids and those people who receive it.
Yep.
And I told them, so I want to talk to them about investing, right?
Right. Yep.
And I say, so what do you do with your money? I said, and they received 25, 35,000. I said,
Yep.
I don't care about what you do with your money, but like set aside even 10,000 for yourself, for your future. And
Yep.
I can even show you how that would work compounded, over
Right.
time, and
Right.
how much you will get someday.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of showing them and educating them. So my actually plan is to bring that, when I went to, remember when I went to Saskatoon for
Yep.
that financial literacy, and I saw that what is that school there, a business school of Edwards.
Edward School of Business and
Edwards
Business.
school.
Yep. That's the one.
I was, oh my god. Okay, so Well, I just went there once, and I just saw it's Edwards School of Business. Okay,
Yep.
so then I saw a room. It is an investing platform, and that's what I said. I'm gonna bring that to Onion Lake. I wanted
Oh, that would be
people
so
to see.
wonderful because exactly what you mentioned. I remember last year we had staff members, we had students who were from neighboring First Nations, and they were about to receive large amounts of money. And the same as you, I'm always interested what people plan to do with their money when they're going to get a large amount of money because I'm the same way where I feel like when there's a large sum of money that is entering somebody's life, you need to have a plan, and you need to have a plan ahead of time before that money hits your account, because the second it hits your account, oh my gosh, it disappears. Suddenly we're eating lunch, we're buying everybody supper, and going to the casino, we're doing all kinds of things with our money because we're feeling like it's never ending source, and we have access to it, but that's not the reality. The reality is it's one lump sum, and it will go away entirely very soon unless you're doing something smart with it. And so if we're looking at investments, then that's something that can generate more money in the future. And so it can be it can be a boon. It can be this financial blessing if we're using it in the right way. But I know that a lot of people, they might have an idea or something of maybe I need to buy a car, but then that's it. And I really think if you sat down and you wrote out, 2,000 goes here, 1,000 goes here. And I know personally for myself that that's exactly the strategy that I've had whenever I've known that there's going to be a large amount of money coming into my future. I sit down, and then the second that money hits, I don't even think about it. I put the money where it needs to go before I get tempted to go on a shopping trip, because I'm a girl and I love shopping. It'll all go to shoes and makeup.
Yeah, that's true. Where there is no plan or budget, you a person will always wonder where their money is going.
Right. And that's like day-to-day life for many people, right? Like I said, I had, $3,000 in my account, and now I only have $19. Where did my money go, right? I think that's exactly very true. I have another question here. What about if let's say we have a single parent who is listening and they are struggling to make ends meet. They have kids that they look after, and maybe their whatever income they have is stretched really thin, and they're barely making ends meet. And if they have access to any kind of credit system, they might be, a little bit in over their head, because now maybe they're relying on some kind of credit which accumulates as debt, and now it's growing and they're not able to pay it off. What could a struggling parent do to turn their situation around a little bit better?
Well, a struggling parent can always find ways to save money, and by focusing on key areas like budgeting. So, first, as I mentioned earlier, create a detailed budget, right? So track all income and expenses to see exactly where your money is going. Prioritize needs over wants. The needs are housing, food, and utilities, and then track your spending. You can use a simple notebook or Excel, or there are online apps too, but I like to use a spreadsheet. This is not only for struggling parent, but for those who are really struggling, they can also use cash for discretionary spending. Cash. Have you watched that till death do us
Do us
part?
part?
Yes, you watch that.
Yes, I
So
think
it
so. Yes.
jars money. So you take
Yes.
a percentage of that cash and put it in the jars, and you label it as your food,
Yep.
your transportation, and then when that money, that money is gone, then the spending stops. It just requires consistent and discipline. And also, like, first is, of course, we talk about tackling debt and set financial goals. Now, Another thing that a struggling parent can do is reducing the food in household cost. So we can actually save by doing that, like by doing meal
Mm,
planning and batch cook. So instead of going out every day,
yep,
to buy, even if you just go to McDonald's, that can add up over time.
yep,
And it can be costly and thousands, over the years. And
right.
uh, and then shop smart, write a list and stick to it to avoid impulse buying. When you go to the store, or let's say superstore, and you're buying
Yep,
groceries for
yep,
your meal plan, don't go on an empty stomach.
right.
So when you write the items that you are buying
Mm-hmm.
and stick to it. Not
Mm,
because there's on sales there and you go grab it. That is impulse buying, right?
right.
Another strategy is to reduce your energy bill. So that is unplugging, as simple as unplugging your electronics when you're not using it. And you
Mm,
know that washing clothes in cold water can save you energy.
right.
Yes, and also the do-it-yourself. When something breaks down, like a simple like faucet or whatever in your house, try to YouTube it and do it yourself.
Mm,
That way you can save it, because when you actually hire those, they charge you I think $85 per hour. And if it
mm.
is Saturday or Sunday, that's $120.
Right. But that's for homeowners. Like if you're a
Yeah.
rental, if you're in the rental,
Oh yeah,
hire me.
rental.
Yes.
Yeah, but if you're a rental, then it's not your responsibility. It's the
Yeah, that's right.
homeowner's
Right.
responsibility, right? And also, as another strategy is saving on children's items and entertainment. So, instead of buying brand new, try to buy secondhand. Like you can go to the thrift store. Thrift store offers, sometimes they have a lot of nice stuff, and some are still with tags. So buying
Mm,
clothes, or going or online marketplace, if you're buying, let's say if you have a baby and a stroller is very expensive. It can goes up to a 700 to $1,000.
yep.
Because I bought one for my granddaughter, and it was a 500 or $700. And so, going on online marketplace, it
Mm,
is not brand new, but they're still good as new,
yep.
and it can definitely save money because it is cheaper. And then like prioritize affordable fun as well, like entertainment. Utilize the free resources at your local public library, like books, rather than buying books.
Mm-hmm.
It's free to read and borrow at the library. You just need a library card. You can borrow a book, right? If you're that person or anybody likes to read books.
Yep.
And then look for free or low cost activities like local parks. That's free to go there, right?
Yep.
Nature walking, community events, and or you can host a clothing or toy swap with other families. And then you
Mm,
can also plan for holidays, if you want to holidays or birthdays, and restrict with your spending habit and set aside ahead of time. Planning and creating a budget is the key here, the biggest key here.
mm. I really love that. It really made me think about when you said doing the low cost activities with your family, with your kids. It reminded me of when, like, I had three sons who are older, but when they were little, I remembered that sometimes I wasn't working. I was doing a lot of writing from home, and so we didn't always have as much money, and we would do a lot of family activities and that kind of thing. And my kids really loved that time spent with them, more so than the electronics, more so than all the brand new stuff. In fact, I remember one time I had returned to work and I was making, good money, and I was having a conversation with my son, and he was very upset that I had to go back to work. And I said, you know what, honey, I need to work because I have to pay for all the things that you want, all the things that you like. And he broke down in tears and he said to me, but mom, he's like, I would rather spend time with you than have stuff. Like if you quit your job, I would be happy because then we could spend more time together. And which is really cute and really sweet, and I appreciated that, but I said I also still have to pay for bills. So, we can't be totally reckless.
Yeah, also, a struggling parent can utilize financial assistance and resources, like check government benefits. Like there is child benefits or tax credits that they can access to. Also, nutrition programs that they can access to. They can research it, energy assistance, income support programs. These are all available, even if one, because here in Lloyd, some people, let's say they just move here, they will post it on what's happening in Lloydminster, right? And that they are, if they're struggling or whatever, so then people will throw these ideas, okay, go to here and there, right? And then also anyone can actually seek financial counseling, and it's free. And then also like local communities resources like schools, community and religious organizations, they offer help. Like here at the Olive Tree, that is a thrift store, they offer like meals, right? So
Oh, okay.
yeah, and also during Christmas they give away care packages or even food baskets. And so there is always available out there, so they just have to like research, ask around,
Okay.
don't be shy in asking that, if this person or individual needs it, because sometimes I know that some, because of their ego, right, they don't want
Oh,
anybody.
yeah.
It's the pride that they don't want anybody, maybe their friends will know that they are struggling, so never mind about other people. That's what they said, be deaf to negativity. Like
Right.
what's best for you, do it, and not impressing other people. We're not here to impress other people. We do to survive. Some of us just try to survive. So just never mind those, whatever the other people will think about you.
Well, and I think if you are struggling with the pride and you're worried about what other people think about you, you could always say, I'm just trying to be smarter with my money. And
Yes.
then if you're approaching people because they might be judging you and you say it that way, then I think they will understand that knowledge is power and you're just trying to, understand money a little bit better. Because I know, with my best friend, we have often had many conversations about money when we were in university and we were struggling with that transition into the work world. And now we were trying to get better. We had maybe student loan debt and whatnot that we were trying to recover from. And so we really spent a lot of time talking about money with each other. And we both really understood that we were trying to learn about money. We hadn't really been taught about money in our families. And so we had to take it upon ourselves to just immerse ourselves in that world, and we would share books and we would watch TV shows. And exactly what you were talking about with the cash jar thing, I remember, and this was like 20, 25 years ago, I didn't have the jars, but I would use envelopes. And let's say I wanted to buy a new TV, then I would have my TV fund. If I, had Christmas money for gifts, and I would have the envelope for Christmas money. And then, every month I would put in $20 here, $30 here, or whatever, until I reached my goal. And then now I had the envelope and I was able to go use it. And then I knew where my money was. Of course, you have to be really careful if you're using a system like that, because exactly what we talked about earlier, if you have a partner who is maybe not as trustworthy with money and they know where your pockets of cash are, then it can be really detrimental almost to your relationship if they access those things. And and now we have this deceit in a relationship. So I think you have to be real smart about it. I know when I'm thinking about, even in my past relationships, often I would have bank accounts even that my partners weren't aware of. because my partners were maybe not as financially responsible. And so then if I had money tucked away, I would have and I called it my Swiss account. I would have a secret savings just because I wasn't always sure that they would. And this was before, of course, I did a lot of difficult conversations. Now I think I would approach it a little bit differently because I'm okay with having those difficult conversations. But at that time, for my own financial safety, I would sometimes funnel money away and not let my partner know just because I would be worried about how they might approach the spending. That maybe they had really frivolous spending habits, right? So those were some things that I did.
You're very smart that way. Yeah, jars or envelopes, that really works. And that you're very smart on setting aside for yourself just in case what happens in the relationship.
Yep. And I ended up divorced 2 times. So, and it wasn't because of my secret money. It was for other reasons, but I was always, at least I knew that I would be safe and I would be okay. And I think that we have to look at it that way realistically, that sometimes, we can love somebody to the ends of the earth, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be financially smart, and they could really set us up for, some financial ruin, some financial damage if we're not careful, right?
Yeah, even if we're women, like a long time ago, it's the man that's working. But it's very important for a woman out there to
Yep.
have your own job, to save for yourself, invest, because you never know what will happen. It's not a guarantee. Marriage or a relationship is not a
Yep.
guarantee. And if a disaster comes, you can stand on your own. So that it's really important for us to stand
Absolutely.
on our own.
I totally agree with that. And actually, I had been dating a man once, and he was a little bit threatened by my status in life, right? Like I've been a principal and a vice principal and a superintendent. And so, these are very powerful positions. With them, you have a higher income, and then of course I'm in school, so I'm doing my doctorate, and this person was a little bit intimidated, and he was really honest with me, which I appreciated. And I also was a homeowner at the time. I owned a house, and so I was doing all right financially and didn't need anything from him. But that threatened him. And, he said to me, I'm intimidated by your status, by your financial security. And he's like, I'm not in a position to offer. And I come from, a tradition where I need to be a provider, and I'm unable to meet that need. And it makes me feel uncomfortable, being in this relationship with you because I can't provide for you. And that's what I really need to do. And I said, well, can we revisit this? Can we look at it differently? Because for me, I don't have that need for you to take care of me financially. But for him, it became an ego thing. And I remember having the conversation with my best friend, like, I feel like this person wants to clip my wings and is ungrateful for all my success and doesn't celebrate it. And I said, and to me, I don't really like that. And you know what she said? She's like, you know what? Nobody's saying that he can't be more successful than you. There's no rule that says he can't have more money than you, that he can't have a higher status than you. If that is his need, then there's nothing stopping him from being a millionaire and from owning several businesses. If that's his need and he still needs to provide for you. But she's like, you should never, ever feel bad for your success. We're in a time in history where women have never been so financially secure, right? And this is something that we need to celebrate, that we are able to completely take care of ourselves, right? Like when I bought my house, I was 9 months pregnant and I was a single woman. And I remembered saying, this is really incredible that I'm able to do this, because 50 or 100 years ago, I would never have been able to do this. I would never have the job I have. I would never be able to buy a house and do all this even by myself, right? Like I couldn't do it. And so I'm a huge supporter of women being able to stand on their own 2 feet and exactly that. But I recognize that there's a cost, because sometimes, men can be very traditional in their approach, and then that can be part of the problem that you have in a relationship, that maybe if they haven't embraced feminism and that sort of thing, then that can be a real issue. So I think that's where we need to have those difficult conversations like you mentioned.
Yeah, I'm very proud of you. You've done well so much in life.
So have you. I'm so proud of you also. And I'm really so grateful and appreciative of all of your amazing advice today. Is there anything that you want people to really think of before we go? Maybe a question that I haven't mentioned or something that you haven't talked about yet?
So what I can say is that if we all follow the foundational principles, which is we live below our means, create and follow a budget, and then pay yourself first. We haven't mentioned that pay yourself first earlier, but that is actually one of that. How can we save is to pay yourself first and automate it, and then avoid bad debt and pay existing debt. Build an emergency fund. Those are the things. And to build wealth and security is invest for the long term. Leverage tax advantage accounts. Protect your assets and income by getting insurance, even car, car insurance, home or rent insurance. It's very important to have those insurance in place, and then invest in yourself because you see, health is wealth, and that is so true. And so my final word would be financial success is less about complex strategies and more about consistency, discipline, and intentionality. We have to be intentional with our money, and then regularly review and adjust your plan as your life and market conditions change. By managing your money with a clear purpose and avoiding impulse decisions, you can achieve long-term financial security and freedom. Because that's all what we want is to have to achieve a financial freedom, and that's my goal. My goal too, and to retire early. And if you can retire early, do it. You know, do it. And that is a really because you see, like if you look at those billionaires, right? They work all their lives, and then they just keep working until they retire 65 or now 67 years old. You can retire. How much energy you've left, and you have all this money accumulated, and you can't even use them.
Right.
So, like for me, if you can retire early, do it. And it's
Enjoy
not.
the money that you've accumulated.
Yes, and if anybody here haven't start budgeting, like start. It's not yet too late, and
Right.
it's not also too late to invest. And anyone can invest. And the reason why some people don't get into investing because they thought that only wealthy or rich people can invest, right? But anyone can start investing, and as low as $1, anyone can. So yeah, we just have to educate everyone that it's for everybody. Like everyone, I always say everyone deserves financial literacy.
Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Lapina. I'm going to have to replay this episode myself so that I can remember a lot of this information. But I know it will be so valuable for all of the listeners. And so I'm so grateful to you for helping us. And I hope Onion Lake organizes a workshop that you
Yes.
can help people with
Yeah.
cows and plows when that time comes for them, that people are able and ready to have a plan that will they can execute when that time comes.
Yes.
But I'm so grateful to you for your time today and your knowledge. You're so wonderful. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much too. There's so much to talk about, but you see, yeah, but at least we've done something here, and we miss you.
Oh, I miss you
You're such
too.
fun
Oh,
to be around,
aw.
and hope you can visit us someday.
I hope so too. And you know what? You're right. Maybe we have to do a part two. Maybe if people give me questions and they say, can we bring Ms. Lapina back on? Then I would be more than happy to do that. And I will definitely reach out to you if we need to do another episode, okay?
Okay, thank you, Miss Iron, and it's so nice seeing you on the screen.
You too. Well, you have a wonderful day and take care, my friend.
Yes, you too. And say hi to Jesse.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
will. He
God.
misses you for sure.
Oh, I miss that little boy. Okay, take care always. Yeah,
Okay, you too.
yes, and bye bye.
Bye.